the Business Travel Podcast, brought to you by the Business Travel Magazine.
Hi, my name's Bev Ferris and I'm the editor of the Business Travel Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest Business Travel podcast. I'm here today with two people from Clarity. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure.
If you need to be introduced, to be fair.
We do. Yeah. Pat McDonagh, Chief Exec of Clarity.
And Donna Fitzgerald, Chief Growth Officer at Clarity.
Thank you. And we're all here at the BTA Conference, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to catch up and find out how the tech development's going since the acquisition of Agito in late 2023.
Yeah.
So I don't know who wants to start, but tell me where you're at. What's happening?
Shall I start and you can
Yes.
follow on, Donna? Yeah. So actually in late 23, when we acquired Agito, we were just about to embark on our migration of the existing Clarity clients onto the new technology. So that was planned over the following 12 months.
Busy time then.
Oh yeah. So, I don't think we had enough to do, so we thought
we'd have another job.
Do the deal, yes. And actually spent the following 12 months doing that, as well as some of the integration work needed with Agito, which was separation from the previous parent company, some of the plumbing to connect us so that we could all see and work with each other, so things like Microsoft Teams and whatnot. And then really focusing last year on Clarity moving on to the tech. And then we're about halfway through now, aren't we, Donna, with legacy Agito clients moving on to the new technology.
Okay.
And we've had some great results on it. So,
and
so
this
far,
is
so good.
this is ClarityGO we're talking about,
ClarityGO,
particularly.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the migration, you say you're about halfway through. So,
Yeah.
when do you see yourselves being complete? What's the time frame?
Yeah, so we're looking at the end of this year, really.
Okay.
So we've got our customers really scheduled in between now and the end of the year. We're having all of the right sensible conversations about doing the right gap analysis, making sure that they've got their own resources internally in place to be able to meet those deadlines. And yes, we've had to move a couple of them just to align with customer need, but we are on track for the end of the year. And it's been a really exciting project. We sort of went through the Clarity legacy customers last year, learned some great lessons along that process, and again doing the Agito ones this year, and there's different lessons that we're learning, but it's been really good customer interaction.
Oh, excellent. And what are the key benefits of having this new technology? What do your customers gain from it?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, the tech that we moved from was 10 to 15 years old, so fairly aged, and it was showing its age. So that's just things like bugs when people are trying to book something. There may be an error, there may be a problem doing that. It's probably not as intuitive. In terms of scalability, it's a little bit restricted because it was all physical server based.
Right.
What we've created here now is hosted in AWS, so it's incredibly scalable. We think we can scale it 20 times over where we are right now, which is fundamental to being able to grow and scale the business.
Are you planning to grow by 20?
I hope so. Yeah. If we have, then we've done all right. Yeah. But the main point is that it's quick. It's new. So in terms of the error rate, that's vastly reduced versus where we were before. We're seeing higher levels of online adoption because it's easier to use. So that's roughly, we've halved the number of transactions we have to do offline on the new tech.
Wow.
We've also reduced the number of calls into the online support team. So in real terms, even though we've increased the number of bookings, we've seen a reduction in people calling in with problems, with challenges.
Right.
So that makes it a far more efficient process.
Yeah.
But the customer outcome is obviously better levels of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So we've hit a net promoter score now over the last 6 months of about 88. Because the typical experience with us is
what would it have been before? Is that quite?
We were already really good, really strong. So world class is sort of north of 50. We were already in the mid 50s, mid to late 50s. But when you consider that 90% of the experience with us is using online technology, be that ClarityGO or MeetingsPro, then you're gonna really be measured on how good your tech is. To hit 88 is hugely satisfying.
I was just going to say, and that's the actual the sort of important message wrapped up there is we were already in a world-class environment, but we've managed to tip that even higher.
Yes, yeah.
Because they're clearly seeing the experience getting better on a constant basis.
Yeah. So good feedback from the customers.
Brilliant, yeah.
Okay. And then meanwhile, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and of course it's proprietary technology for us now
Yes,
as well. So that alongside our
gives us so much more control than we had before.
Have you noticed how the lights keep dimming? Going up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if it's a movement thing, but anyway.
I think there's a guy on the
there's a ghost. Yes, and then meanwhile, obviously you brought that to the Agito customer, but then Agito bought MeetingsPro, which is a whole other tech. So tell me a bit more about, for those who aren't familiar with it, what's MeetingsPro and what does that mean for your client?
It's pretty unique, isn't it? Really,
it is.
In that I think the venue finding experience has needed modernising for so long, and I'm probably best if I defer to Donna on the story in terms of the implementation of the online option, because that's game changing, isn't it?
It is, and ultimately we were seeing our competitors have sort of what I would call a form that you fill in to push into offline teams to manage it. MeetingsPro replaced that in a sort of digital transformation piece of technology, but the live availability in the instant book is the real game changer. We're pushing that availability into the system. People can check straight away if the property that they want is available, if it's sitting at around the price level that they need it to sit at from a predictive pricing point of view, and whether they can book it instantly. They're not having to come through us to wait for us to go to the end venue for it to then come back through that same process. It's instant availability and live book. It speeds it up for us. It makes it more efficient for the customer. They're actually getting what they want and seeing what they want. And ultimately it gives the venue at the end that instant a live booking as well, so it's a quicker process all round.
And again, where are you at with the migration? Or is that just kind of available to anybody who wants to use it, or is there a migration to that?
So there's a migration to that. So it's the opposite way round actually. So all of the legacy Agito customers are on MeetingsPro, and we've been through that sort of, we rolled that out sort of pretty much during the pandemic period to bring the efficiency that we needed when venue responses were a lot slower at that time. So we're now turning that on its head, and while we're doing legacy Agito into ClarityGO, we're now doing legacy Clarity into MeetingsPro, and we started that journey again at the beginning of this year, and we're probably about 3/4 of the way through on that one.
Pretty well progressed. I think the big impact is from a customer perspective, you can shop it, whereas before you could sort of shop it with the help of Google. But you can shop it in the system now, and you can also send off multiple RFPs within there. So you are giving the customer that degree of control that I think they've always looked for. Operationally now, 60% of our inquiries happen through the tech. So if you think about the typical venue find inquiry, it goes somewhere along the lines of, we want to hold a meeting. Great. Okay. Do you know when? Not sure. Do you know how many people? Could be 50, could be 100. And you go through email tennis trying to establish these things. That takes all of that away. Puts the end user in control of that, so that they have to set those criteria to send the RFP. And then our guys are there to assist somebody through a booking with the stuff that really, really matters. So that's things like contract terms and conditions. It's the cost of things where you tend to get stung on things like food and beverage costs and whatnot. So just guiding them through, you kind of got a safety net, haven't you, rather than going on the high wire on your own.
You sort of don't forget anything, and then as Pat was saying around the sort of starting point and the RFP management, it then allows that conversion rate or the end result to be much better than it was initially. Rather than you doing the work, taking it back to the customer, they haven't really made their mind up on whether it's a real decision or not, but they're starting that work themselves and they're managing it seriously. The conversion rate is better.
So you're keeping your customers and your suppliers are much happier as well, because they
because they know when they get that inquiry, it's solid. It's got the information they need, and they can act upon it, rather than something relatively flaky coming through. Are you seeing the meetings side of things picking up? Is it buoyant? It's flattened off a bit, hasn't it?
Has it? Okay.
It was the first to emerge out of the pandemic.
And
that was why Agito had such a need to impart the online tech to
deal
keep
with that.
up with the demand. but just more latterly with major clients, I think are, because of the uncertainty,
Yes.
just starting
Yeah.
to tighten the belts a
Yeah.
bit. And
Yeah.
and,
It's the
and
first thing to go.
meetings and events is one of the first things
Yeah.
to go within
Yeah.
that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the first things to go, but it's one of the first things to come back because they then want to do the whole collaboration and bringing people back together again. But yeah, we're in a cost-cutting year from a customer point of view, so we haven't really seen a massive hit on it yet.
No.
But in terms of transactions, I think what we're seeing is lower transactions, but the volume on that transaction is probably staying fairly static in terms of overall cost.
Yeah.
Overall value.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next? Is there anything on the horizon on the tech side?
We've got to finish this job ahead of us this year.
I don't want to give you any more.
But that's going well.
Yeah.
And as I say, the feedback's really strong. We always said when we acquired Agito, this was a 2-year integration.
Yeah.
It's taken the full 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a full integration to a single target operating model. There will be one way of working with one set of systems and processes across the entire estate. There'll be no middle grounds and grey areas. We've done the whole job, and that's essential if we're going to scale from here. So that positions us really well for the next chapter. And we've said the kind of things we're interested in are a more global footprint. We're starting to do some of those things. So we set up in the Nordics recently.
Right.
Specialist areas like entertainment, which is going really well for us.
Yeah.
And then acquisition-wise, less about scale now and more about those strategic moves into specialist markets, into additional technology, or into a more global footprint as well.
You can't be any more specific than that.
No. Nothing imminent.
Never mind.
Anyway.
Never mind.
Yeah.
And obviously we're here at the conference, and there's been a lot, as always is the case at the moment, is on AI and how that's affecting the TMC space. What are your personal views on what we're going to see?
I think we need to be careful to run too fast at it.
Okay.
So our general approach is to assess the use cases individually and apply them where we think they make sense.
Okay.
So, for example, Donna mentioned before predictive pricing in meetings and events.
Yes, yeah.
We've had that for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, and it's sort of 96, 97% accurate.
Okay.
In terms of what that end price is. So that works really well for us.
Yeah.
But as Pat said, I think it's a sensible approach. It's where it brings us an efficiency, but also the customer an efficiency, and to make sure that it's tested in the right way and the customers are satisfied with what they're getting as well.
And are the customers, are they still a bit cautious? Are they? I mean, do they even need to know that it's AI that's doing what's
I think
driving
customers
things?
are relatively reluctant to speak or interact with AI if they feel like that's going to be substandard.
Yes, yeah.
And I think you have to be very careful that you build the scaffolding around your AI solutions to ensure that it doesn't go rogue and hallucinate and start pulling data from the wrong sources. Equally, we've got a huge data security responsibility towards our clients. So anything we do has to be within our own environment, within our own stack.
Yeah.
And we certainly can't be putting things out into the universe and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Where I think it's going to add relatively imminent value is in improving the experience for the traveller.
Okay, yeah.
So relatively simple things like, the other day I was down in London, I asked it, what's the best way from St James's to Wembley?
Yeah.
Walk to Barbican and get on the Met.
Yeah.
Relatively straightforward. But that kind of thing is an improvement on what we've had before with Google, for example.
Yes.
I'm seeing use cases around things like amendments and cancellations, which are fiendishly difficult to understand a lot of the time for people.
Yeah.
Where I think that's going to start to make sense as well.
Okay.
And I'm also seeing it sit alongside our consultants where you can do things like, have call summaries, wrap calls up.
Right.
Everybody's using it in meetings, aren't they?
Yeah. Transcribing.
Yeah.
And it's great in terms of just summarising it, being more efficient in terms of turning that around. But
yeah.
There's a balance, and I think we won't be slow with it. I think we'll be probably what you call fast followers. I think we're not going to get right out in front because we think a pause is needed and understanding of it is needed, and then as and when we think there are really strong use cases, we'll start
There you go.
to add them to what we do.
Yeah.
I suppose an element of cautiousness around it
Yeah.
for the right
Yes,
reasons.
No,
Yeah.
I think so. And I think there'll be attempts out there to use AI to paper over the cracks.
Okay.
We won't be doing that.
Right.
We'll be building AI solutions on our platform. So we created this incredibly strong platform, that target operating model I talked about. We'll sit on top of that. If there are those out there who think they can use AI to drag all this disparate stuff together because we've got too many systems and processes and lots of legacy, that's a road to ruin, in my opinion.
Right.
So get your base right, get the foundations right, and then realise that with AI.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting point back to when we were talking about integration of the two businesses coming together. Traditionally, travel management companies have been really great in terms of acquiring and not necessarily integrating properly and putting, sticking plasters over problems to make it look great. And we've ripped that sticking plaster off, and it did sting, but we've done it exactly the right way to make sure that we are coming together as one business. The processes are right, they're tried, they're tested, and we're delivering the right results for everybody at the end of the day. So it's been a longer journey, and we do sort of not necessarily laugh about it, but say that we would never have chosen to do
and cry
integration and migration and rollout of new technology at the same time. But actually they blended together really well because they both supported each other. And has made the journey interesting, but also I suppose I'm trying to think, they've aligned really well.
I think it further informs what we're doing. So we're taking the client experiences and requirements from a business exactly the same size, and that's only making the tech stronger because we're building it to those requirements too. The next step with the tech is to globalize that tech. So then we're looking at other markets where I think it's really well documented, especially of late, that there is no single global solution. We're not going to try and create a single global solution, but we are going to identify markets where we know there's a need for that tech and build those localizations where it makes sense for us. So we're probably going to start with North America actually in that regard. Build the functionality, ensure we've got the content for that market, and then go from there.
We'll check in next year and see how that's going. Thank you very much for joining us on our podcast and vodcast, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
The Business Travel Podcast, brought to you by the Business Travel Magazine.